Hello, everyone, and welcome to Adobe Live. My name is Anna McNaught, and I will be your host today. And today I am joined by Ryan Selvy. Welcome, Ryan. It's so nice to have you here. I am a huge fan of your work.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'm really excited to be on here. I've been live streaming user side for a long time now, and this is my Adobe Live guest debut. So
Yes, it's so great to have you here. Many of you in the chat may know Ryan from some of his live streams, and it seems like some of you do. We have some very warm welcomes for you, Ryan. And with that warm welcome to you, we will warm welcome everyone into the chat. Hello, nice to see you all here. We got Bruce, Caroline, Voodoo, Val, Wade, Katrina. Nice to have you all here with us today. And thank you so much for tuning in. So Ryan, before I have you dive into a little intro about yourself, just want to do a few housekeeping things here. For any of you that missed the previous stream, you can view the replay on Behance and YouTube, and check out Weekend Creative as they retouch photos and create GIFs for social. I love Weekend Creative. They're both two of my good friends. We bonded over an Adobe live stream a few years ago, so be sure to go check that out. And don't miss the first week of Illustrator Creative Challenge with Julia Vaca every weekday at 11:30 a.m. Pacific time, right before this stream. Tune in and challenge yourself to create a new project each day. All right, so Ryan, I would love to hear a little bit more about you and have you introduce yourself to everyone.
yeah, thank you. So my name is Ryan Selvy. I'm a motion graphic designer. I'm traditionally trained in illustration and graphic design, and then I got into motion graphics in like the last 10 years. And I love making things move. I love cartoons. I love the idea of things that have personality and character to them. So a lot of my animations and designs are very bubbly and I don't want to say childish, but I would say they definitely have a young flair to them. It's fun to create in a new and changing environment. Obviously, the internet has been around for a while, but it's constantly changing, ebbing and flowing, and it's cool to find all the new places to find design for. And that's kind of what we'll be working on today.
That sounds amazing. Yeah, your work is so fun and like colorful, and you have so many different styles too, which I find really intriguing. With like on your Instagram page, I noticed you have like some paintings, and then you have some design work, and then I really love that you're willing to experiment. So maybe it looks like you have a plan here, but maybe you'd be willing to show that a little bit first.
Yeah, sure. It's just definitely a product of just trying to find things to fill time with. I stream 3 times a week on my own channel, Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays normally.
Wow.
And sometimes it's like, you don't want to just do the same thing over and over again. So it's fun to really switch it up to make myself uncomfortable, but in a good way. And
I love that.
Also just find new ways to expand my skill set. When I went to school, I went to art school, and the very first year, you're not supposed to declare your major because they say that a lot of people are going to switch their major. And since it's an art school, you have to do one class of a bunch of different stuff. So I had to do like a painting class and a sculpture class and an EMAT class. And I kind of like to still try to integrate that kind of flexibility into my life these days as well.
That's super cool and very inspiring. Where did you go to art school?
I went to a school down in Baltimore. It's called Maryland Institute College of Art, and it's a great school. It's fun.
Yeah, I actually was looking into MICA.
Oh, were you really? Where'd you end up going?
I went to SCAD.
I almost went to SCAD.
Oh my God, so crazy. Yeah, that's
Passing
awesome.
ships.
Yes, I know. I ended up transferring to Ithaca College to do their photography program later on, but
Ithaca's gorgeous.
Yes, I am glad you know it. Yeah, that's awesome. But yeah, that's really cool. Sounds like you had a great experience there.
Yeah, no, it's it taught me a lot. I met a lot of really great people. I still talk to a lot of my professors. And I'm up in New York now, but Baltimore will always kind of be home to me because I grew up in Maryland. So
yeah, that's so great.
A big hello to Jack in the chat and Wade. They're 2 subscribers. I know they're also big people in Adobe Live, so everyone else here knows them as well. But I do appreciate their support and them being here.
Yes.
It's good to see everybody. I pulled up a canvas that I have of a very sketchy storyboard that we're going to be working on today. And the idea that we're going to have is taking the storyboards, creating vectors out of them, and then probably tomorrow adding some motion to them. And I want to get back to everybody. So what we're going to be doing is creating essentially a story for Instagram or TikTok that you can use, and we'll upload the templates to the replay. And you can then take your own work and replace it, and just have an excuse to share stuff. Because something that I even realize a lot about myself is that I've recruited for companies, and it's amazing how frustrating it can be that no one really advertises themselves. And then I then reflect on myself and I say, oh, I should advertise myself. And then I feel spammy and I feel like there's not a good excuse to do it. Or I don't know, the right tone to set in order to share my own work. So I want to give you guys an excuse to share your own work, both polished and unpolished. And hopefully you can use this to your advantage. So, yeah.
Awesome. That sounds great. I'm super excited to see what you have in store for us today.
Well, thank you. So I have a few boards here. We have a hello with a wave, which will then transition into a user icon. So this will be replaceable, and the hand kind of scales down next to it. Then the hello will move over to the side. I want to give space for a name, however you identify as an artist, and then pronouns on the bottom. And then from there, kind of revealing a little curtain with a little pull string. It says, here's something polished I made, and have a hand pull down and bring open the curtain to reveal a campy little art frame, and then have a placeholder for this. And then also still keeping love for the idea of something unfinished and having a little bit of like a Moleskine kind of vibe. That will then flip through and open to a page to show something unfinished. And finally, the most important, which is something that I definitely found in recruiting and just trying to talk to people online, is making sure that you have a place where I can contact you or find you. So follow me on everywhere else, followed by I'm available for blank work, whether that's freelance or full-time, or you're not available, and then contact me via blank. I cannot stress it enough. There are so many really talented artists that I wanted to contact for different opportunities, and I was unable to find anywhere how to contact them. So I always want to encourage people to put your contact information somewhere.
Yes. Oh, I love this so much. I'm really, really excited for this. Like, what a great idea.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Hopefully we can find something cool, and maybe you can use it on your own channels as well.
I absolutely am going to.
So I just went in and I drew this on my tablet into Photoshop, and I just did it, just to kind of get an idea for it. We're not married to the shapes themselves, but I do like to normally just go in and grab a little screenshot, hop over to Illustrator, and keep somewhat of a same aspect ratio, just because I want to keep in mind that even though we can move the contents around the screen, we could still kind of keep in mind that it's going to be on a vertical landscape. So yeah, I guess with that, I'll just gonna kind of start vectoring things up a little bit. But Anna, do you want to share anything about your own work? Like what you said you got into photography, right?
Sure, yeah. No one's ever asked me that before on a stream as the host, so thanks.
Oh, I mean, you don't have to. I don't want to also put you on the spot.
No, I'd be happy to. Yeah, so I most of you may know me on here, but I do Photoshop work, and started in photography and graphic design, and decided that I wanted to find a way to combine my two passions together. And I've always been kind of into art and drawing and like very surreal fantasy type worlds with lots of bright colors. So I started playing around in Photoshop and using it for more than just my work that I did in a corporate environment, and created these surreal composites. And then that kind of became my known style with pinks and purples and blues. Ultimately, it allowed me to quit my job and pursue a life of freelance and exploring and doing my art and doing what I love full time. So that's kind of like my very condensed story.
You'll love to hear it, though. I mean, that's the dream, right? Is to kind of be passionate about something and then be able to quit your job and pursue it on your own, right?
Yes, absolutely. And it was like a dream come true. And every day I'm just, as much as there's ups and downs and struggles in being a freelancer and waking up wondering, am I good enough? Am I going to even like have success with this project or whatever I'm working on? Like, I really am so grateful for being able to do this.
And also that constant fear of being like, is all the work going to dry up at the same time? And everyone's going to figure out that I have no idea what I'm doing, which isn't true, but you know, your brain plays tricks on you.
Exactly. I mean, before the pandemic and then during all of 2020, I was kind of in a dry spell and didn't create anything new. I made one piece the entire year. And I look back on, I have no idea. It was just really bad. And I looked back over some of my journals. I journal all the time, and I was writing about it. And I was so upset and so frustrated by this. And rather than just like, okay, I need to take a break and I need to kind of reevaluate where I'm at in my art life and play and explore, I just like forced it so hard. And it just wasn't happening all year until finally I let go, and then it came back.
I mean, that's also part of it, though. You got to be kind to yourself. It was a very challenging year.
Absolutely.
It affected us all in different ways. And, you know, I made some of my best work and some of my worst work in lockdown. So, you know, it's different for everyone.
Yeah.
I do see here that Laura is saying that this is an interesting workspace. So I guess I could probably talk about that real quick.
Yes, Val just asked about that too.
I don't regularly mess with my workspaces until as of late, because I've realized that I should maybe have a little bit more regularity in my life. So I would just kind of have things scattered across two screens and get a little crazy. But right up here on the top left is Overlord, which is a wonderful plugin that helps you bring things in between After Effects and Illustrator that I use all the time. So I like to always know where this is. I also feel like I use Align and Pathfinder equally, and by default they are windowed together, but normally I'm hopping between them so much and so quickly that I just like now have a space over to the left that has them in the same way that when I'm going to access tools, I kind of also view these as an extension of tools. And then just having space for my layers as well. With streaming and what have you, a lot of times I have myself on the bottom right. So it's kind of a product of both keeping that in mind of normally my face is down on the right, but also just giving it the space to always be there while also having my properties panel, because my properties panel is a go-to and always really resourceful. And I like to make it have the ability to be as long as it wants to be without getting too crazy. And then over here, I just kind of have a few ones. I mean, I use libraries a lot. One thing, and we'll be touching on it later, about libraries that I've recently did is I added a library just for social icons. Because I feel like I often grab these and download them 1,000 times over. And so I recently just made a little folder for them. And then now whenever I want to do them, I can just go and I can drag them in. And that's super helpful. And then
that is so genius.
only took me like 15 years to get there. And then also, if you're sleeping on libraries, you're sleeping on the good stuff. As soon as I kind of figured that I was going to learn libraries, which isn't learning much at all, it's kind of just acknowledging that it's there. As soon as I did that, you can speed up your workflow so much. And then last but not least, I have Now Project, which you guys can see that I kind of pulled up. I have a subscription to it. You can either pay for it and not have to credit the creators, or you can actually get all the icons for free as long as you do proper accreditation. And it's really cool. You can just kind of search whatever you want. So I can say balloon, and it will just pull up icons on icons on icons.
Wow.
And then you go and you can tap it. You can bring it in, consider it. You can change the colors of it. Obviously, Adobe Stock also has their icon library, which is super resourceful. I mostly use Down Project as a reference or as a starter point. Like I like to put it to the side and then kind of create my own. But it's all just a matter of kind of using all the tools at your expense and going from there.
Yeah, that's really helpful. The Noun project seems like a game changer.
Yeah, no, I mean, I had a teacher actually recommend it to me when I was in school, and it's also really great to use for when you're coming up with concepts and you don't know how to represent the lowest hanging fruit of a concept. And so not
Mm.
necessarily even when you're using the icons themselves, but if I'm like, how do I visualize this? If I just punch it into noun projects, I often am like, oh, okay, cool, that works.
Oh, I
So
love that idea. And did you say, is it just for Illustrator or can you use it in other?
it's yeah, it also is available for Photoshop as well. I believe it's even in like After Effects, but I don't really use it in After Effects because it kind of gets messy with the idea of
Okay.
linked files. But that's just my workflow personally. It might work for others, but not for me. So, you know,
Wow. What a game changer. I'm gonna use
right?
that for sure.
Rob saying libraries have really developed over the recent upgrades to Adobe products, it seems, or I'm just discovering the power. That's how I felt. I was like, does everyone know about this except me? How long has this been this powerful?
I know. I feel like it definitely has kind of upgraded recently because I know for a while it wasn't properly syncing and you'd put something in and it'd take like a couple days for it to show up on your other devices or in other programs and now it's just so flawless.
It's the beauty of the cloud.
Yes.
Everything's becoming one singular thing.
I know. I mean, it's about time. I'm like loving the ease of use.
Right? um it's so funny when you ever draw hands or make hands. It's always like you're constantly battling that connection of, does it look alien, does it look cartoony, or does it look approachable?
Yeah. I think you're
And I'm
missing a
liking this.
finger.
Yeah, you gotta get the four fingers. It's that cartoony vibe. I like to do say I did it over here too, just the little four ones.
Oh yeah,
And,
okay. I was like,
yeah,
maybe that's why it looks alien-esque because it's only four fingers, but I
yeah.
like it.
No, I've also have a very heavy influence in my own branding and design to be very outer space, because I just realized I like sci-fi stuff.
I am with you on that.
You said that you like surreal stuff. What is your favorite like surrealism story? My boyfriend really likes Lord of the Rings. He can tell you everything about all of the canon. He's reading all the other side books and stuff.
Wow.
What kind of fantasy and surrealism do you like to get into?
I guess I should not use the word fantasy because it always goes into the realm of like Lord of the Rings and like that kind of fantasy. I'm much more like outer space, dreamy, like Avatar land type fantasy.
Heck yeah. So apparently Avatar is about to show their first look like within the next like 24 hours or so.
Whoa.
There's a Disney Expo happening right now, and they all got handed out 3D glasses. And so the rumor is that they're going to get a first look at Avatar 2, which comes out in December, which is wild.
Oh, wow.
Because that's been a long time
December
coming.
of this year?
December of this year.
Wow.
Which is just crazy, because it feels like the Avatar sequels have always been a joke that kind of has been like, it's happening, but
yep.
One day when we're 40.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my God. I was just actually thinking about that movie and how like inspiring the colors are. I was thinking about it yesterday. So it's funny that we're talking about it now, but yeah, that's going to be exciting.
Have you ever gone to Disney World to like see the Avatar land?
No, but I've heard it's incredible. I've seen pictures. Have you?
Yeah. I live in a Disney family. So my dad's always itching to go, and we've been, and it's feels like you're on another planet. It's really, really neat. Would recommend, especially if that's your bread and butter.
Yes.
I think you would have a great time. They even have fun with the food, and they need to figure out kind of like how to work with like the idea of representing aliens. But outside of that, everything else feels great.
Yeah.
Which Avatar we're talking about? Voodoo. We're talking about the alien one. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know. It's always like anytime you Google Avatar, like I'm gonna sound so naive with all that, but I don't even know anything about the like video game or cartoon or I don't know.
Ooh, I kind of like Alfarn. I don't know if this is nice to share or not, but I go on to Typekit and I just like activate everything. And they're like, "Are you sure you want to activate that? It'll slow down your system." I'm like, "Doesn't matter. I want to flip through them all. Let's do it."
Yes, I don't blame you for that.
Okay, so you said your favorite colors were blues and purples, right?
Yes.
So maybe we should do like a blue background. What kind of blues do you like? Do you have a favorite color blue?
Yeah, I like a teal, almost greenish blue, like that middle, yep, right down a bit. Yep. Up a
Like
bit.
around here?
Up to the tippy top right corner and like down a little more in the greens.
In the greens, okay.
Right? Up a bit, or sorry. And then put the picker in the upper right corner. That's usually where I go.
That's where
and
you're
then
going.
a little greener.
Oh, I like that. Have you heard of the game
That's me.
Hues and Cues?
No.
Oh, I've been obsessed with it lately. It's a board game, and it is just a grid of colors. And what you have to do is you have to give out a one-word clue, and then everyone goes and they put down the guess that they have for that color. And then once you get around the table, you then kind of revisit it, and you get to give 2 words as a clue, and everyone then puts down another picker to say this is where they think it is. And then at the end of it, you put down the identifier as to where the actual color is, and whoever is closest gets points. And then, as the guess giver, you also get points for when people are actually close to the color that you were going for. And it's a very fun game for artists and non-artists. And then also it's just like a really good conversation game. So,
that sounds incredible. I'm definitely going to check that out. I just put a note to look it up after the stream. That sounds so cool.
It's very, very fun. And yeah, I was worried that it would maybe be too specific to artists, but I've played it with many different walks of life at this point, and everyone seems to be happy with it. Also, I hope I'm not talking about too many intellectual properties on this right now. I'm not sure how that is. I'm like dropping them left and right. I speak of all on my own accord, not on Adobe's dime. They're all my recommendations, not Adobe.
I know. I didn't even think of that. I think you're fine.
Adobe's like, apparently we have a partnership with Disney World now. I'm like, no, sorry. I'm getting too caught up in this hand though. I need to chill with the hand. That's fine. Ooh, I kind of like the blue in between, but it might be a little too difficult.
Maybe as you're going along, for anyone that's a little newer to Illustrator, you can talk about some of the tools you're using too.
Heck yes. Okay, so I feel like one of my favorite ones that I recently have done, and I did it back here when we were being chatty Cathy's, was you can make a square. And I forget who taught me this. So I think somebody on user live streaming did. But if you hold down the shift button, and Anna Davis Court taught me what it's called. But the key to the left of the one, it looks like a squiggle. It's this icon. These guys. So if you hold shift and then you hold that key, it opens up this tool that helps you bend paths. And it makes it really easy to kind of move things around and it'll automatically do the math for you. So a lot of times if I want to make like a bubble, I will make a square. I'll switch up some of these edges to make them a little bit more bubbly. And then after I do that, I will then go to the full selection and then press the A tool to get to the direct selection tool, which will reveal the corners. And then you can bring the corners in and out. And just like anything else in Adobe Illustrator, like there's 1,000 ways to do the same thing. And you could also use like the bulge tool. You could inflate it in many different ways, but I feel like I have more control when I do it that way, which is just preference. But it's really up to you, whatever works best for you.
That's really helpful.
Voodoo is still going on about the Avatar show. That's another one that my boyfriend's really crazy about, is like the Avatar like Last Airbender, and I do know that they do have something coming out on Netflix. Have you ever made anything for like a concept for a TV show or anything before? Like sci-fi related?
I don't think I have actually. I mean, one of my like clients was NASA, which was like really, really awesome. Yeah.
That's the dream of dreams there.
I know. I say clients because it wasn't like I didn't get paid for it, but I did get to work with them and create stuff and go to JPL, and I met Bill Nye, and that was like the ultimate like science dreams all coming true, science and space. And I was there for their Mars landing. So it was just all around an epic day. But
that's inspirational.
Yeah.
Also, Voodoo, I was not shaming you. I was just commenting on the fact that you share that with Aaron a lot. Just getting excited about it. All right, so I have Alfarn, and so this is gonna be, we're gonna replicate this. I like to just, when we go tomorrow to animate things, what we'll end up doing is like right now, layer 2 has both the hello and the hand. In reality, that's not how it's going to go down. We'll actually go in and this will be its own layer. But for organizational purposes, right now, it's just some storyboarding. I'm going to go ahead and make them all different layers that we'll then come back into later. But we'll go in, we'll copy this just for our own reference. Also save your work, guys, because I have not saved yet. And we've been 30 minutes. Save to the cloud, save to your desktop, back up your desktop, everything here and there.
So when you said you're going to be providing these files, you're going to provide the Illustrator file and then the After Effects file, like all finished, ready for animation. You know it.
Cool. And hopefully people can go in. I'm gonna, give up free rights to it or whatever, so you can change it, color. I mean, I just don't sell it, but outside of that, go ham.
Awesome.
Who says it's all right, Ryan? I would never in a million years think you were shaming me about being a nerd, pot, meat, kettle, and all that. Oh, get out! Don't insult me now, or compliment me. One of the two. Who knows? No, it's a great group of people here, especially on the Adobe Live regulars. Just seeing people in chat, it's always like COVID made it so I was very isolated. I had roommates, but even then, you can only get so much of your roommates. And finding the community on Behance and Adobe Live was a literal lifesaver. So yeah, I know. It's amazing how everyone's like one big family. Everyone starts to know each other really well. And I'm sure with you doing your own live stream, so you stream on Behance, right? Yep. Okay. Yep. Yeah. So then everyone. Yeah, and I mean, I've gotten to know a lot of people, and it's really the thing that I always tell people who are getting into the live streaming community is that I'm always really inspired at the idea of how wide the span of that's kind of cool. This doesn't match what we did earlier, but now I'm kind of excited about it. I'm really inspired by the idea of how wide the skill set is. You have people who are trying to get into art, and you have people that have worked on major motion pictures and have Oscars. And not that movies are the only thing, but I'm just like that kind of just goes to show me how wide this span is, and how welcoming everyone is. I haven't really seen that anywhere else on the internet. Is just you'll have people talking, age 65 talking to a 19-year-old and giving advice, and there's no judgment and there's nothing there. It's just excitement about speaking about art. And yeah, it's just, I love it. It's great. Yeah, such a good community, all walks of life, and it's really fun to see different levels here and people kind of learning at different stages, and from just starting out to, as you said, like Oscar level, or having tons and tons of clients working on huge projects. Like, it's really cool because we can all learn something from each other no matter what. Absolutely. So yeah, check it out. If this is your first time, check it out. If you're on YouTube, get off of YouTube, come over here. Yes. Very good point and reminder. If you're watching this on YouTube, come join us on Behance, and you can join in on the chat and ask Ryan any questions.
or talk to us about Avatar, whatever you want.
Yeah, whichever one makes you more comfortable. If you have questions about Avatar, I cannot answer a lot because I saw it in IMAX and I could not tell you like anything about that movie. It's one of the biggest grossing films in film history, and I can't tell you the name of all the characters. So
Me either. I haven't seen it in a while.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite space movie though then?
Oh, that's a good question.
Put you on the spot.
I know. Oh man, to be perfectly honest, I'm just like not a big movie person, which I know like everyone busts on me for. And
no,
like,
movies are not for everyone. I'm not a big book person, and that really upsets people.
Oh yeah, see, I'm more of a book person sometimes. I like TV shows, but I'm not a huge movie person. But yeah, books.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I feel that.
Are you a big movie person?
I thought I was a big movie person, and then I lived with movie people, and then I was like, oh, I guess I'm not a movie person.
Yep. I know. My husband's a huge movie person, and so that's why I am not a big movie person.
Right.
So I feel what you're saying there.
It says, any dream projects or jobs you want to do but haven't found the time for yet? I have done a lot of really cool stuff in these last like 2-3 years that I wasn't expecting to do. I definitely want to get more into broadcast. I do the broadcast, mom and pop style with live streams, and I've done a little bit of bigger clients, but I would really like to just, if you watch, I don't really watch football, but then I'll like watch, Super Bowl or something, and I'll see the animations that happen on screen for it, and I'm like, oh man, I could make some cool stuff for random player walking on the field.
That would be really cool.
But it's one of many things. If I can just make things move, I'm happy. I want to get to the iRobot kind of vibe of the world where everything moves everywhere.
Yes.
Yeah. So you'll see that I when I made that stroke, by the way, I click in 2 places. All I do is I hold down Alt, and that helps me transform the handles, so then I can then bend them to the way that I want. Some people are a lot better or prefer to go and start, and they build out their shapes like that. But for whatever reason, I've always started very modular and angular, and then I go back and I like to change my anchor points from there. So. Also, another really cool tool that I've been using a lot lately is this width tool. When you go in, and so everything is obviously uniform, but then you can go in and you can make some of the stroke thicker than others, and it still remains the same.
Wow.
Which is really cool. I don't know if we'll use that in this project, but
that's really cool.
You can normally make it prettier than that. This looks like a tapeworm or something, but
I was thinking about worms actually as you were making. I was like, that definitely looks like some sort of worm.
Some sort of bacteria. I'm not into it. Thanks. Let's make this curtain. So one of my subscription on Behance, because you can have a subscription on Behance now, is when I live stream, I do these streamer greetings. So when Jack comes in, I have a bunch of donuts fall from the sky. But one of them is for Randall, and he has this curtain that opens, and that's kind of what's inspiring this one, if you guys have ever seen that before. But the interesting thing about vector curtains is that they don't really work in the same way that you would, if you had a 3D object. And Illustrator has some cool new 3D features, but I have not really positioned this project to have a 3D element to it. So we're going to try to make some 2D curtains, but we're going to have to split them up in a unique way. So this will be kind of a cool exploration of that. Cool. But I was trying to look up a reference of Princess Diana. There's this one thing, she reveals this thing at a hospital, in the early 90s, and it's this really tiny plaque on the wall, but they put up the curtains just so she could walk over and pull it. And I was like, I want that. That is what I want on my story.
That's so perfect.
Becca says width tool is low-key my favorite Illustrator tool. Oh yeah, what would your guys be your favorite Illustrator tool?
Yeah, that's a great question.
I like the radial stuff. I'm a big radial guy, and like going to object and doing repeat. So you could do like a radial and mess it around and kind of have these come up and come down. Those are always really nice to have, or even just the grid for those. A lot of my stuff I like is very kaleidoscopic, and I do a lot of that in After Effects, but if I have an excuse to be able to do it in Illustrator, I will find it. Jack says that's like picking a favorite child. I can't do it. Aaron gets mad at me because I pick a favorite nephew all the time, and I'm kind of verbal about it. And he's like, "You can't do that. They're gonna get older and figure it out." I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Like, oh, whatever.
They just have to fight over it then. Okay, you'll have to spoil me. Okay.
I love that.
Just kidding. Love all of your nephews and nieces and children. Whatever.
Love them all the same.
Oh, boring. Have to start some drama.
I know.
I need to pull some of this in colors though from here. Now, I'm assuming you don't spend too much time in Illustrator, right? Because you're mostly probably in like Lightroom and Photoshop, right?
Yeah. To be honest, it's one of the programs that I don't know that well. Even working as a graphic designer for a couple of years, like most of what I did was in InDesign, because we we're doing a lot of like book and flyer and pamphlet type things.
No, I feel that. I was on the newspaper in high school, and that's why I know InDesign. I had to do a few InDesign projects, but the majority of my knowledge is from high school newspaper design. Which I now, charge clients for, creating content, but it's just funny.
Big
it's advocate funny for those programs.
Yeah, I feel like in high school we did a lot with Photoshop, which was why I kind of picked up an interest in it early on, and a little with InDesign. I remember like we recreated a magazine article or something, that same sort of thing, but we never used Illustrator or anything else. I don't know why.
I'm also really interested to see how that changes, especially I know like Adobe's having these really cool explorations into web-based programs and app-based programs. And I'm really interested to see over the coming years kind of how that education shifts, both in like a high school setting and in like a less professional younger setting, and also how we keep up, because we're getting older. I don't like to admit it, but it's just like always having to stay up to the new stuff, which hopefully there's new stuff coming out soon, but we'll see.
I know, always having to refresh.
So what I just did is I took a regular line, and I wanted to have it be curvy. So I went into my FX panel and I went to distort zigzag. By the way, guys, I apologize about my weird menus. I have two very different monitors, so my aspect ratios gets weird. So your effect should not be this tiny. That's just my computer. But I went to distort. I went to zigzag. I made it smooth, and I brought it up and down. But even after you do all of that, you'll notice that you go and it's still just a straight line. So what I need to do in order to make it editable is I'll click into here and I'll go to Object and Expand Appearance. And that will then take it from a single line into the line that passes through the shape that I want. Then I can very easily kind of pathfinder it to this curtain, or work with it in other ways. But yeah, use that a lot, definitely.
Cool. Oh yeah.
So yeah, no, InDesign is not my favorite, not because of it not being a good program. I just don't have as much patience for large text organization.
Yeah.
I'm much more of like, okay, how can I have the least amount of content on screen at any given time? I'll make it animated so I don't have to worry about positioning it on screen and letting it work together. But that is a very much like a product of, like digital screens, and then having the flexibility to do that, because, if it was born 10 years earlier, it'd be like, well, too bad we're putting out a magazine and it can't move. This isn't Harry Potter. So
yep. I know, everything would be laid out on a huge table.
Yeah, right. We did have to do a like a letter set course in my graphic design 2 class, and we went to Globe Posters, which you guys should check out. I don't know if they're still in business, but they were really big in Baltimore back in the day, and they did all these really popular event posters, and they did them all on these giant machines, and we had to learn how to like manually set type.
Wow.
And it was really inspiring and cool, but I also was like, oh man, maybe I wouldn't have been a graphic designer if I was born younger, because like this stuff is, you know, it hurts my neck and my back and takes way too much time. So who's to say what my profession will look like in the coming years as well?
I know, because now our backs hurt from sitting in our chairs all day long, like hunched over our laptops.
Right. I need recommendations for a good chair, by the way, because I got this chair right before the pandemic, and it's a horrible chair, and I have just been riding it out. And I have to put a seat cushion on it and everything. Would not recommend.
Yeah, I know. I'm in the market for one too. Whatever we have here is pretty comfortable, but I feel like we all need chairs that we can sit in for like 15 hours a day. Although
right?
I hate to even say that, because no one should be at a computer for 15 hours a day.
Right. I know, but I mean, as long as we acknowledge it, you know, it's more exciting. So.
Yep.
By the way, I love your study. It feels very moody, and I feel like I could like really like do profound work in that room.
Thank you. I can't take credit for it. It's all my husband at work. He made it very like moody and dark, and it's so cozy and perfect for live streaming. We have sound panels and lights.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it's really great.
Right before we went live, we were talking about how your husband is recently using your computer though for all his editing needs.
Yep.
So, I mean, you know, I guess he needs the space to feel productive when he's using your stuff.
I know, he's taking over, man.
Let me say, what's this?
Becca asked, does Ryan know about Control D for duplicating those?
Oh, you're right. You know, see, that's the funny thing also about live streaming. Sometimes I'll do something and someone's like, why did you just spend 10 minutes on that? You can press Control J WP and it does everything for you. I'm like, I knew that. I just was testing you to see if you knew what was going on.
Exactly. I know, that's the best way to put it. I want to see if you catch it.
The thing that I mostly use Control D for, I haven't really thought to do it like that, is when you go in and if I'm like making a clock or something, what I have in the past, I've really used it for the radial tool, because you can go and so like, let's say you create a circle here and I want to make it go 45 degrees. I'll press Control Y to get into this mode, by the way. And I'll press the R tool, I'll press Alt, and I'll click in the middle to the center. That has this pop up with the angle, and let's say I'll say -45. I'll press copy. And then that's when I'll normally hit Control D, and it'll just continue its way around, which is really helpful. But I guess to that note though, and I guess just for the sake of, you know, learning things as we go, is like, what would you do? You would copy it like this, and then what would I just press Control D again with that? See, that's why I stream. I stream just to learn things from the chat, honestly. Becca, you're not shaming. You're not shaming me, not at all. Oh my gosh, please, no. I would let you know if you're shaming me. I'd shame you. Just kidding.
That was so amazing to see. Just
okay, so this is a small curtain. You know what? I kind of want to make a small outline of it so it matches our hands. So let's do let's go to object, path, offset path, and that will push it on the outside in a way that's different from stroke. And I'll give it like an offset of like 8, and then we have a new like separated shape, and then I'll add white to that, and then that'll kind of match our flavor of what we have going on. Rudy says that gasp. Yeah,
I know, it's so good. It's so good.
Jack sees me do it the most. I think Jack by far is the one that always comes in and is like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm sorry, I don't know how to do everything like you, Jack. Jack is one of the most talented people that I know. She can like 3D print stuff. She just like randomly picks up new hobbies all the time. So if you guys have a chance to check out her live streams.
I think she was in the chat. I don't know if she still is, right? Is
that
the Jack you're talking about?
A moment. Yeah. Jack Watson. Donut Jack. I don't know if I like these straight lines down.
Really awesome work, Jack. Stalking you on Behance.
Something like this. Sorry, Ryan. I'm just trying to help you. Like I said, I'm not angry. I'm just calling out the fact that you put me in my place. So take it as you will. By the way, if you guys have any questions about weird things that I do on the screen, please do not hesitate to say, wait a second, what did you just do? I got into Photoshop when I was in 6th grade because I don't know if you guys remember this or not, but there was a website called Zanga. It was like LiveJournal. And I wanted to create the layouts for it. And a friend of mine was on AIM and she made something for me. And I said, how did you do that? And she got me into Photoshop. And then that kind of inspired me to everything else. But when people are like, why did you get into design? I always kind of point towards Zanga and MySpace, which is, laughable, but also very, it's authentic. It is what it is.
Oh, not laughable at all. I 100% am on the same page as you, and ditto to that. I got into kind of my love for like design and web design and stuff because of Zanga too, and like designing my own backgrounds and making things like fall from the sky and oh my
some
God,
campy design, definitely. Like you like change the cursor and you're like, this is awful. I can't read anything.
Oh my God, it was so much fun. It was like the very early days of kind of like the crazy web design type stuff that we see now. And I remember having like all of the colors that I use now. And I always changed my music based on my mood and based on what breakup I went through.
Right. Passive aggressive music choices.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. Oh my God, that's so cool though that you mentioned that, because it's such a great throwback and such good memories.
It's just like, I also kind of wonder, I hope that maybe kids today are inspired by maybe like a TikTok filter or something, and they get into it because of that. But you never know where inspiration is going to come from. I'm feeling okay about these curtains. I don't know if I'm wild about them, but I feel like we should move on to the frame, just because we're about 45 minutes in. And what might end up happening, I don't know how you feel about this, but I have my storyboard. I want to make sure that tomorrow we animate. So in the event that I don't finish up some of the assets, I might just work on some of the assets tonight. And then when we hop into things tomorrow, we can just hop straight into After Effects. But if you guys would rather have me illustrate on stream, I can do that as well. It's just for the sake of time, I feel like that might be the most beneficial for people. But
I think that's great. And then we can do a little review in the morning tomorrow, or not morning when we go live. We'll do a little review of what you worked on off screen. And then if anyone has any questions, we can dive in a little deeper into those particular aspects.
100%. So for these edges, we're going to use one of those tools that I said was really cool. We could do the handy dandy Control D tool, but I kind of want to experiment with the distance between them. So I'm going to create just this shape, which is, I made like a square and I rounded out the corners. I'm going to go down to Object, Repeat, Grid. And it'll give me these controls, and these controls are super handy dandy. I'm going to hide this square just for now, so you guys can see what's happening. But if you go, you can either bring it out or bring it in, kind of like this as well. You also have the ability of these sliders, which bring them closer and farther apart, which is super helpful, both up and down. And I want to use this tool specifically to experiment with the edges of a golden frame that you would maybe see. either at a museum or in your grandmother's hallway, which are a wonderful and bizarre crossover. But yeah, so what I can even do is I can just go and I can extend it all the way down here. And then we can then continue to kind of play with how close or far we want them to be. Some like it bumpy, others like it spaced out. I kind of like bumpy. And we'll also hollow out the middle here in a second. Wait, repeat grid is an AI too? What in tarnation?
I love Voodoo Val's all caps.
Yeah, I'm here for all caps. Wade gets upset with me because I use caps a little too much. And I think Wade's itching to ban me one day for my obnoxiousness, but not yet. He hasn't gotten there yet. Josie said what tools he's using now in AI, and that is the repeat grid. So just real quick again, make a tool. Make a shape. Go to here. You go to repeat. You go to grid, and yeah, you can move things around. It's super helpful. It doesn't only do grids as well. You can also do my favorite, which I don't get to use often actually in practice, but is you go to repeat and you can do like radial, and that's when you can really like have fun with making things move around. And you can even mess with it like this, so you can change how many there are. You can change the center of it. You can blow it up. It gets real fun.
So many cool things.
Also, Josie, that reminds me, do you know the song Internet Songs by Blink-182? Because the song starts with Josie, and it makes me think of that. Because that is shamefully one of my favorite bands. Very, very 2005 throwback. I know some people will be like, 2005, Blink-182's 90s. But you know what? I was in middle school in the 2000s, so that was when they were cool to me. Yep.
I love Blink-182. Such a good throwback.
I've seen them a few times in concert.
Oh,
what's awesome. The best concert you've ever been to before?
Oh man, that's it. Yeah, you have some good questions.
Is that okay? Is okay. Yeah. Also, if I'm being too chatty, we can also
I don't know what Adobe thinks of it. I'm totally enjoying it. Let's see if the chat likes it. I think you have some interesting things to talk about and say. So let's see, best concert. It's really tough because I've been to a lot of music festivals, and those are obviously always amazing.
Which ones?
So I haven't been to Coachella, but I did Outside Lands and Bottle Rock a number of times and loved those.
Outside Lands, that's cool.
Yeah, that was
I don't know Bottle Rock, but
it's a smaller festival which is now getting bigger in Napa Valley, and it's always fun because that was probably the best show was the Red Hot Chili Peppers being in the fourth row.
Fourth row? Oh my gosh, how you must have gotten there so early.
We like squeezed through, and that was absolutely
that sounds
incredible.
Terrifying. That sounds claustrophobic, to be honestly.
It was scary. It was a bit scary, but
a life memory nonetheless.
Yeah. And then we got to see Tom Petty twice there. So that was a very memorable,
good lineup.
Yeah. Oh, the lineup is incredible every year, and they have good food and good wine, and it's like
and also festival design is cool.
Oh yeah.
Like both on stage, that's a dream job right there. I actually had the privilege of Firefly. They actually got bought by Coachella. They are in Dover, Delaware, and it's the one that I've been to the most. I think I've been there 3 times, but I had a friend of a friend who was lucky enough to perform there, and she reached out to me, and I had the privilege of creating the background for her as she performed. Some of the artists that you see at these festivals have the coolest motion graphics.
Yes.
Muse in particular. I thought Muse was like an okay band. I saw them live, and it forever changed my perception of them. Muse is such a creative band, both their music and their experience and kind of like what they create. If you have a chance to ever see them, I would definitely recommend it for both the music and just, the things that they show, which is really nice.
Yeah, that sounds so awesome. I know the visuals are always incredible. I remember I went to see Bass Nectar and the visuals for his show was like unbelievable. And I
Yeah.
remember just being like, oh my God, this is such a, and that was in college before I was creating the art that I make now. And I think it
Mhm.
like subconsciously influenced me because I remember being like, oh my God, I want to make something like this. This is so
Yes.
powerful. And like this butterfly coming out into these like fractals. And it was so, so cool.
It's really cool to be able to interpret music and be able to create a visual representation for that not only reflects the music that you have going, but also is adaptable and able to like, you have to make it with the idea that you're not going to be able to sync it up perfectly. So you have to, kind of keep that in mind and be like, at any given moment, I can be offbeat and will the visual still be cool?
Totally.
I saw a question about the corners. I was actually, Misty asked, how do you get rid of the little extra bit on the corners? What I did for that is I go into the radial thing, the grid, and I just mess with the adjustments a little bit. What you can do also, which I was kind of thinking about doing, is we can go back and we can do that expand. And when we expand it, it'll give us the option to turn them all into individual objects. And then when you do that, you could go in. But the only disadvantage about that is that then you no longer have the flexibility of having that like adjustment for the grid. So probably before we finalize it, I might go in there. But for right now, I just want to at least have it be a like a frame of sorts for now. But
Cool.
Yeah, I hope that answers the question. It kind of does, it kind of doesn't, but I'm doing my best.
I actually have a question for you about some stuff on your Behance and like some of the line weight or the line work that you do, like the pickle that's animated. Are you doing all of that line work in Illustrator?
Yeah. So I wonder if I can, let's see if I can do this. No, I don't have it there. I don't want to pull anything up on accident. I am currently working on one of those stream greetings for that person that I made the pickle for. That's his like his go-to. And I can actually pull up his, the one that we're making right now. We're putting that pickle into a pickle jar, like a hot tub.
Cute.
His name's Dylan Bailey, great guy. Has been always really supportive. But I like to go in here and I can even like break down kind of how. Oh, I might have even flattened his hand. Let's see. I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna bring this out. You'll see that these are strokes. Normally I'll bring this into After Effects and this will be a rubber hose, which is another great extension by Battle Axe, the people that make Overlord. And it's a really good rigging tool. There's a bunch of really good rigging tools. There's Do It, which I believe is free, and some other stuff. I just got to know rubber hose when I used to work at an agency. But you'll see with this, I have it grouped. Group it. I have it as background as like a full shape as white, just to kind of fill the space. But over here, you can see I can kind of just explode this and everything is just a combination of shapes. I do that because then I also want to go into animate. I like to be able to individually affect some stuff and not have to worry about adjusting the entire shape underneath. And when we were talking about the width tool, you can see that I'm using it here also within the hands, because this is all technically 2 points. Oh, yikes. This is all 2.7279 point width, but I went in and I adjusted it with the width tool. And then that's the same thing with here. I'll have different groups of stuff, like since I'm animating it, I have the jar all as one. There's different opacity. But no, yeah, Dylan has been a really great supporter, and he's really let me kind of just have creative freedom with exploring anything as long as it has a pickle in it. So
yeah,
that's where we're at.
It's so cool and interesting to see the process of doing the line work and stuff, because coming from like an art background, I draw everything in terms of like the line by drawing it out, and then seeing when people work in Illustrator of each thing's really thought of as its own individual shape. and
Right.
each line is like its own thing. And so that's really cool. And when you start working on a project like that, are you working from a sketch of what you already kind of have in mind, or is it literally you're working from base shapes?
Yes, it's definitely comes from a sketch, like even with kind of how we did this, with bringing up like a very rough sketch. I have to hunt it down, but I have a inspiration sheet with the pickle, surrounded with a bunch of Cuphead and Mickey Mouse inspiration, and then of course like pickle jars. But it helps to start with a Photoshop sketch for me and then kind of bring it from there. But everyone works. I mean, there's some people that I watch on Behance that just completely start to finish in Illustrator, like Annika Garwal. She does some stuff in Illustrator. I'm just like, oh, how do you? Okay, all right, sure.
yeah, that's
Why
like
not?
so incredible, so beyond anything that I understand and comprehend. So cool.
But I mean, I'm sure I could say that about plenty of stuff for you. So we all got our own stuff.
Very true. Bruce asked if you have played with Adobe Animate.
Adobe Animate, previously known as Adobe Flash. When I was younger, I tried to get into it. It kind of had my eyes glaze over a little bit, just because, like, even in After Effects, I get a little winded from the idea of like expressions, or the idea of anything that I have to kind of learn language for. And within Animate, I kind of got intimidated by it. That said, I've seen some people do some really cool stuff with Animate, especially with streaming. Good friend of mine, Gregor, he's loading artist. He does these crazy interactive stream elements that react to his computer, and it's all built within Animate. Also, Tom, what's his name? Tom, he has the duck or whatever. He also does that as well. And so you can do some really cool, like, active stuff. Also, Character Animator, as Voodoo was mentioning, your Super Duper has tried to get me into Character Animator. It's just like, I'm trying to learn so many programs, and I'm just, only so many hours in the day. But there's plenty of exciting things that can come down the line.
I feel that. I feel like that's the hardest thing about being a creator that wants to do all sorts of different things, is learning all of the different programs. And I'm like,
right.
There's not enough hours in the day, and I have 9 million courses piled up on my computer and Behance streams that I want to watch.
Right. And I don't know how I necessarily feel. I have mixed feelings. There's a lot of professors that'll say, like, it's important to be good at one thing rather than be a little bit good at everything. But
right.
where that might have been true in the past, I think it's changing, honestly, because I think there is kind of a need to be flexible and be able to kind of throw everything together. And there will always be a space for people that are really good at one thing, because we're always going to need experts. But also, if you're somebody who is inspired by a little bit of this, a little bit there, I think there's nothing wrong with that. I guess that's also me just justifying my own interest.
No, I'm the same way. And yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think that especially in the world that we live in now, of like so many different things on social media and constantly seeing how people create and do their art. And I think it's good for us to want to experiment and try things. And I think because then it helps you expand on that one thing that you're really good at. For example, when I draw and play around on my iPad, it makes me better in Photoshop because I see how light works on certain things, or how to create a better composition. And then it in turn makes my art that I'm really good at 10 times better.
Right. Absolutely. I want to get an iPad. I have played with them in the past, but they weren't as good as they are now, when I did. And I had a friend come over, and he was playing on his Apple Pen in Fresco. And I'm like, oh man, I need to get one of these. But it's just one of those things. It's like, but I also need to get more camera equipment for streaming, and it's kind of like
Yeah.
it is always of the lesser. And like one day I'll have that extra $2,000 randomly to buy an iPad. But
yeah.
it's also interesting to see the kid. I keep talking about the kids. I sound so old. I'm like I'm not even 30 yet. But I do see like the
Those
kids like using iPad apps more and more to do things that I am comfortable doing on the computer. And that's always kind of crazy for me to see as well.
Oh yeah.
And just that there's so much power in these small machines that you can, pull stuff off that you previously needed a computer for.
Totally. And people creating art on their phones. Like I just worked with Photoshop Express for a job and had to create an entire piece like using my fingers.
Yeah.
And it was the hardest thing I've ever done. And I'm like, so many younger creators do it like this because they don't have a computer, find it easier to use their phones. And I'm just like so impressed by that.
So with Photoshop Express, I know you said it was the hardest thing you did, but now that you've done it once, do you think that it would be easier when you hop back into it?
I think so. Yeah. I think
it's it's also a generational thing, kind of like you were saying, like it is harder for us that, my nephews, they do the classic thing where they swipe on top of books and you're like, no, those are different things, dude. It's not an iPad. But
I know, my gosh. It's so sad. And I have caught myself making that mistake where I'll be drawing on paper and like double
want to control Z.
Yeah,
yep.
like what am I doing?
2-finger tap.
Yeah, like so why am I tapping on my piece of paper? But yeah, what happens when kids think that that's what a paper does?
But I mean, in their lifetime, probably is what a paper will do, and like, I'm constantly in that struggle as well of like, oh yeah, no, it is kind of scary that kids are so comfortable with screens, but like at the same time, they'll be able to run circles around us at age 9 just because, they're learning how to code in elementary school now.
Oh yeah.
Which is just wild to me. I'm trying to think if I did anything interesting while we were talking. Making a dollar bill, which hopefully maybe I'll make it so that you can change the symbol just in case people are in different countries. But that's something I did. I made a compound path and I put it inside of a clipping mask. And the reason I made a compound path is because compound paths help you cut things out of other shapes as like a whole. So like I didn't necessarily do too much of it, but let me see, locked, I think. We'll do this where I make like a circle and another circle and a third circle and blow it up. And like, let's say that I want to, I'll change the color to make it easier to see. Let's say that I want to take this and I want to get rid of these two guys from here. If I were to highlight all 3 and use the Pathfinder tool and use the minus front, they updated that. Never mind. It used to be where it would only take 1 out. And so what the solution to it is that you would go and you'd click the 2 and you would make it into a compound path. And then with a compound path, you'd be able to pull it out. But Adobe's always on top of it. And I guess they got, I guess I just haven't adapted. Speaking of being behind on the times. So. Oops. I might use this typeface for the dollar bills, Alfam, which is on Typekit. Does everyone have favorite Typekit fonts?
Because let us know in the chat.
A bunch. Alfam seems like a great one. I mean, they have Proxima Nova, which is an easy one.
I tend to just go with whatever as I'm scrolling through, looking at them. I'm like, ooh, that one's cool. And then I forget their names, even if it's one I use all the time. Like, it's about the 10th one down.
Something with a J.
I'm
the same way. But I'm the same way with people too, though. I recently started using an app that you can take notes on people.
Oh, tell us more.
Yeah, it's not an Adobe product or anything, but it is. It's called Dex, and it it just lets you go in and like it syncs with your contacts, and then you can go in and I could be like, I talked to Jimmy and Jimmy is really excited about an upcoming project. When I talk to him again, I'll look at this and then I'll like remember to ask him about it. Which I'm just like, I'm so old at this point. I have to use it.
That's like incredible and so sad at the same time.
100%. But it can be resourceful, especially when you're networking. I mean, we talk to so many people these days, especially online, virtually. It's like impossible to remember everyone, and you don't want to hurt anyone's feelings and make them feel like you don't care about them. You're just like, I've talked to 40 people in the last hour. I appreciate you, and I don't want you to think that I don't listen.
Yep.
I just have a horrible memory. I can't even remember the names of my fonts.
Yep. I think that's a really good instance to use it in as a networking thing. I remember writing on business cards what I talked to the person about. Remember the days of business cards?
Right. I also have a cool thing called a dot that lets you like tap the card to the back of a phone, and then you can like share your network information, which is cool. And I have my Behance and stuff on there. I really like that.
Yeah.
I'm thinking for this dollar bill, we'll then take the user icon placeholder that we have at the beginning, and we're going to put it right on in the middle of the dollar bill. So it'll be your own bucks.
Yes.
So when you say that you're available for work or whatever, you can do this. Now I am going to group this just so that I can then easily make a clipping mask out of it so that he doesn't pop out the bottom like that. And this would ideally be your picture. I guess we could put something like, I guess we don't want to put bucks on there or something, but it could be helpful for something later. We'll have to play with it and see how it looks once I start putting people's faces in there. If anybody wants to be the guinea pig tomorrow for how things look when you do a template, reach out to me, let me know. And we won't put you in the final project files, so you won't be distributed to everyone. But I will do it on stream so that I will have some real faces. That's not just my face.
Cool. And then people will be able to come in with the file and obviously like change colors, font choices, everything. Pretty much, right?
Yep. And we always label our layers, which I've done a horrible job at doing today as an example. Sorry, Ben Marriott, I'm sorry. But when we go to make sure that we distribute it, we'll make sure that it's all kosher.
Cool.
Funny money. Oh, that'd be fun. Call it funny money. My circles are not properly placed and I need to fix it somehow. Let's see here. So my boyfriend's working in the props department at a TV show, and he sent me a picture of a bucket of money today, and it's fake money.
Oh.
But they needed it for the TV show, and he's like, you need anything? And I was like, yeah, everything. Bring it all home. But I thought that was kind of cool. I'm thinking about that as I'm like making this fake money.
Yeah.
That looks better. I kind of like those circles more.
Yeah, that looks good. Did you mention this when you were talking about, I think maybe this was how you were cutting out those circles from the background with what you were talking about. Sorry, I don't know the names of things, but where you showed that example that Adobe updated the cutout
tool.
Yeah,
with the compound path.
The compound path. That's it. Is that what you're using there for those circles going off the edge, or is that something
that
different?
Is called a clipping mask? And clipping masks are great because in Illustrator they work the opposite of how they work in Photoshop. So a lot of people get frustrated when they switch between the two and they think that they don't know how to use it, when in reality, like, it's just like no, you just have to switch the layering of it. So in Illustrator, you put the thing on top that you want to have as the constraint. So like I want this green to be in blue, so the blue goes on top, and I go and I create a clipping mask, and it'll get rid of the blue and I'll just put the green. But over in Photoshop, if I were to do the same thing, we want to first create a fill shape, and I'm gonna put it up at the top. What you would do in this instance, if you want to then take something like this and change this to a red. If we wanted to put this, you actually take the ellipse and you would right click, you put it on top of the rectangle, and then you go up to here and you go create clipping mask, and then it puts it in. So the top goes into the thing on the bottom. Subtle change. It makes a lot more sense because of just like you would think, oh, why don't they make it the same in both? It works this way because when you're in Illustrator, you're normally working with shapes and you're like cutting things out of other things. Whereas when you are in Photoshop, you're working with pictures and you want to kind of see what you're working on as you bring it up. And you just, once you kind of remember it, it works out for your benefit. But
cool.
Yeah. All right. And then we have one more graphic to make. I'm probably going to touch up this dollar bill off screen. But the last thing we need to do is our little Moleskine or unbranded piece of notebook, sketchbook.
Yeah, I have to keep it unbranded.
Because I don't want to give any favoritism out there. Although Moleskine is my favorite. But they're so overpriced. Please. I know. Sponsor me, Moleskine. Please.
Yes. Please, we're begging you. I know, I feel that. Rob said, does anyone run into Photoshop issues when working on a stock image of real money? I've hit that button where I get some sort of fraud warning. And yes, this happened to me. We were doing this really stupid flyer where it was like, save tons of money. And the money was like falling from the top of the page. And I got the stock images. I was all set, bought them, and couldn't put it in Photoshop.
I heard that, and then someone told me that, and I tried to do it, and I could pull it off. So I don't know what triggers it, or maybe they just like don't have faith that I could pull off like any fraud, and so they're like, "Oh, he's fine. He doesn't know what he's
good."
But I had heard of that, but I haven't experienced it myself. But you ran into it. What was the solution that you ended up doing? Did you just like?
I think because we had like a big dollar bill that was coming up. I forget if it was like on the bottom or something. That was the one that we couldn't use because it was flat and like looked like real money that you could cut out. And so I got in touch with the stock site we were using and told them what happened. And so they gave me credit to get something else instead. And then we got money where it was like kind of folding over as it was falling, so it didn't look like flat, and then that worked.
So it didn't trigger the automated and sort of catch-all for fraud.
Yeah, but super interesting.
You're like, I was working on this product where I made fake money to buy things, and
it didn't work out. I couldn't do it.
It's so weird.
I have to figure out another way to do that, I guess.
Unfortunately, maybe next time. Coming up next on Adobe Live, how to make fake money. Just kidding, of course. Gonna get notes after the show. They're gonna be like, please don't do illegal things. Like, no, I would never. I promise. I'm sorry. No.
We've been watching that show Good Girls on Netflix. It's like super cheesy, but they have
That's not the Lizzo one, is it?
No, or
I think it's Big Girls or something.
Oh,
it's something girls, like GRRLS.
Yeah, this is just Good Girls, and they work with this gang to. It's kind of like a comedy and funny, and they print money and then they launder it, and it's hilarious, and it's just really entertaining to watch, and how they figure it all out, and we're like, oh, okay.
They always make it look easy on like Ozark and stuff, and I'm like, this would never. This 13-year-old is not laundering money. I don't know what you're talking about.
Exactly. I know. Another really great show.
The final season comes out on Friday.
Oh,
final part of the season, so that'll be interesting to see. I love that show. I also love Jason Bateman so much more than I used to, because I just have more respect for him now because he directed it or whatever, which is unfair because comedy is so hard, and it gets totally ripped off as far as being taken seriously. But for whatever reason, in our psyche, we just take drama way more seriously and admirable than anything else.
Yeah, totally.
By the way, what I did right there also is another thing that I found out later in life that is super helpful is I made a square, as I do with a lot of these tips, and wanted to separate them equidistantly from each other. So I go into the direct selection tool. I normally just press A, gives me a little white thing. And I'll select the two that I want to use. I'll press S, which is the scale tool. It'll show me very faintly here because it's blue on blue. I'll actually move it up so you guys can see it better. I'll press S here, and then there has this little blue indicator for the path center, and then I can drag it left and right, and it will scale it properly, far and close to each other. So it's another simple tool. And I did that just so that we could make it look like the pages are coming out a little bit more. When we build it in After Effects tomorrow, I most likely will make them into 3D layers. But this just helps us for now to be able to kind of visualize what it's going to look like. It will get cropped off the side of the screen like this. So I really don't even need this shadow, but just for viewing sake.
It's so cool how it starts to come together and look like a real notebook. And I love the way you made the little elastic thing squiggly as it's hanging off. It's so accurate.
Yeah, a little bounce off, the thing that I definitely use all the time. Definitely don't just put it in the back pages and forget about it.
Exactly.
That would be ridiculous.
Especially when it gets all stretched out like that.
Yeah, no, it gets pretty nasty. So we have the money, we have the frame, we have the curtain. This is the sketch of the curtain. We can get rid of that. We have this little area. Thing is, I do switch between typefaces, and I probably should make. How do you guys feel about this being used for hello? And then this Druk being used for the body copy. Is that too weird since they're not different enough in Alfarn and Druk? Or what do you guys think?
Yeah, let us know in the chat what you all think. I think that it might be too similar.
You think it's too similar?
I think so.
So maybe we do just make these into Druk then. And then not Druk, we make these into, I already forget the name, Alfarn or Alfam. Also, I saw someone mention it to the podcast with Jason Bateman. It's great. It's him and like 3 other actors or 2 other actors, and they bring on other very famous people. I'm like, oh, it must be nice when you're famous. You can just be like, oh yeah, my guest for today is casual Conan O'Brien. Like, okay, cool. So next Adobe Live, we'll have Conan on. Just give it some time.
Yes.
I don't know, because maybe this needs to be. I know I was talking about Proxima Nova earlier. Proxima Nova also is kind of getting tired because a lot of people are using it. That's the thing that stinks about a successful typeface is as soon as other people use it too much, then it's like becomes a little bit too ubiquitous, and then you're like, but now it doesn't look. It looks too much like a template. It no longer looks like a piece of custom-made content.
Yeah.
It's such a silly human thing. But no one wants to use the lobster of the world. Smartless is the name of the podcast, not Ryan. Thanks, Wade. Thank you for clarifying. I didn't know we had to clarify, but here we are. It's out there now. I do kind of like it better if this is not lowercase, though.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of caps.
Yeah, it's just like if you have enough content, though, it then gets a little too much. So it's like this weird, delicate balance. I think this works. I'm worried about the size of this typeface just because I don't know how long everyone's titles are going to be.
True. Fonts are like so tough.
I know. That's why I thought I didn't want to get into graphic design, because I didn't have a passion for typography as much as like my counterparts in school. And I was like, oh, then I must not want to be a graphic designer. But then I realized it's just so many different there's so many different aspects to design, and kind of like what we're talking about, like you can really get in and get out of whatever you want, and
Right.
it's like, yeah, just because it seems like you have to know type. It's good to know type principles, but you don't have to have it be your everything in order to be a graphic designer. I want, I guess, younger kids to know that.
Yeah, that's definitely a really good point, because I feel like I started straying away from graphic design because I was a little intimidated by type and picking one, and because you can be like, oh, this looks good and this looks good and this also looks good, but none of them are the best choice.
Yeah.
You know, you can just like keep going and going and going. And so it's a tough balance.
Let's see. Oh, what is this thing? Let's see.
Cool. What are you looking at?
I was just looking at chat, and then I was just reading apparently about how there's different paperweights that are illegal.
Oh yeah, I know. That's
interesting. Cool. But I was trying to see if anyone said anything about typefaces, but it looks like everyone's just happy with what we got. So I guess we'll keep trucking forward. We could also do something like this where we like segment this off and add a different element of color, some division. I think that might look a little nice. Could even do something where like maybe no, I like how I just look like that. And then it's also important to also remember that there's going to be a little comment section on the bottom here, which we're not going to design, but it's just part of the user interface, that there will always be a little something here, and there will also always be something up here. So whenever you're designing for stories, always just kind of try to keep things out of the very top and the very bottom, because it'll either be shadowed over or it'll be, you know, taken over by some sort of UI element that doesn't make the best case for your thing. So
yeah, and there's actually some video apps. I don't know how many different apps do this, but for example, Splice, I use that often to check my final work that I create, because for Reels and TikTok, it shows you a watermark of those areas. So I've used that. Yeah, I've used that often for Reels to make sure that everything is like lined up and not covering anything.
No, it's you know, it's always changing, and it's always something you want to keep your eye on. I mean, if you make, you know, good enough work, it's not gonna, you know, break the design, but it just helps to take it to the next level. Just always keep it in mind a little bit.
Yeah. Reverb Mike asked, wouldn't it be faster and less steps to make this in After Effects?
Yes, it can be. It really comes down to your workflow. Sometimes the shape making in After Effects is less helpful for me for my own personal reasons. I'm trying to think of how to and then just as far as like organization as well, and just kind of like my comfort level, and it really comes down to like whatever you feel good about, honestly. But yeah, there's only some people that could do this straight from the top, right? Just entirely in Illustrator. I mean, in After Effects. But I don't know. I enjoy doing it this way. But you know, Mike is a guru when it comes to all things motion design. He'll often, if Jack is my person for Illustrator telling me how to do things better, Mike is my guy telling me how to do things better in After Effects.
Nice.
And he also knows about 1,001 different movie quotes. So if you have any words that you want to find a movie quote for, just ask Mike and he'll let you know.
Let us know, Mike. What's your favorite movie quote?
Also, the beautiful sounds of New York are coming through my window. So I'm going to shut my window real quick.
Okay. So for everyone still with us and watching, we have a little less than half an hour here. And Ryan is just finishing up our beautiful soon-to-be animation. that he is creating right now in Illustrator. So we're just moving along with that.
Now we're going to get to the fun part of labeling all of our layers to make Ben Marriott happy. Which, if you guys don't follow Ben Marriott on Behance and YouTube and you're interested in motion design, you are missing out. That guy, he works with Adobe a lot, and he will teach you everything you need to know about After Effects for free on his YouTube channel. And it's such a resource. So make sure you check this stuff out. I mean, there's also like, EC Abrams is also really good. Evan Abrams, he does stuff on YouTube, and he also streams sometimes on Behance. So check his stuff out as well. But oh look, Mike has he has one to say that he doesn't even have a quote. He has a quote to say that he doesn't have a quote. So I don't.
Wow.
What can you do?
That's good. I wish I had words, man. I wish I had words. So good.
Okay, we'll do here. We'll change this to a dollar bill. We might. I was not expecting us to have time to hop into After Effects today, but I think we might be able to pull this off. We'll just do the very tip of the iceberg, which we'll then obviously explore in greater depth tomorrow. But yeah, it's kind of cool.
Yes. And Annika asked, Ryan, how did you come about choosing the colors? That was my influence.
At the very beginning, we were just talking about our favorite colors and favorite genres, and I had mentioned that she really likes purples and blues, so we're going with purples and blues. Also, hello to Annika. How's it going? Good to see you. Annika also streams a lot, and she's also on Adobe Live. So, also hi to Odari. I'm sorry I'm not paying as much attention to chat as I regularly do.
That's okay. That's my job.
Yeah, I just don't have as much flexibility of like normal. I'm like, cool, we're gonna stream for 4 hours today. It's not really in my say as much this time.
Yeah. So how long are your streams usually? 4 hours?
I feel like they're normally 2 hours, but
Okay.
if I really get into something, I can stretch it. I don't know what the longest I've ever done is before though. Something I'd have to look into. But it's amazing how tiring it can be.
Absolutely.
Both from talking and just from, I don't know, just existing. I can't imagine. Some people do 24-hour streams for like video games, and I'm just like, what?
Yeah, that's like all the awful Twitch stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I couldn't do that.
I don't think I could. I used to think, I was like, it's during quarantine. I was like, maybe I'll do it as like a promotional thing. I'm like, no, never mind.
Nope.
No.
I know, it's so hard.
But that said, if someone were to just be able to design for 24 hours, that is quite the feat, and I love you for it.
Yeah.
I guess we'll say this.
Wow. Voodoo Val said longest I've ever streamed straight was a 13-hour broadcast.
And that was video games, right? That wasn't for creation, right? I know you probably maybe would have done some creation in that, but there's no way that you just created for 13 hours. Please tell me you didn't.
Yeah. I feel like even when I'm deep in a project, I still come up for air at least for a few hours throughout the day. She said, I partnered on Twitch and did a Path of Exile stream.
Ooh, okay. Cool. You gotta get back into your video game and stuff. Or maybe you haven't. I just haven't checked my notifications as much. But would love to work and lurk. That's my go-to for streaming. It's just having people be my background music as I just zone out and work on repetitive work,
Yeah, it's a good way to do it. What is the spider that everyone is speaking of?
Wait, what?
What's the longest when there was a spider during the stream?
There was a time a long time ago on when I killed a spider on stream, and I was just like stopped in the middle of talking, and I realized there was a giant spider just like crawling down the wall. That might be what they're referring to. I got some flack for it because I did not save the spider, but You know, it's a dog eat dog world. Okay.
Yeah. Especially when they come into your house.
Yeah. Right.
My mom always says, not in my house. You can live outside.
Yeah, no, I definitely live with a lover, not a fighter, who always wants to save all of the beings. So I've been trying to not kill as many spiders, but you know, you can only do so much. Cool. All right. Sweet. I'm gonna save that. Do you guys like it?
Love it.
I'm a professional.
Export it.
But I am going to go through, and I have it saved in the cloud, but I also want to save it onto my computer because I want to make sure that we can then bring it into After Effects and begin to animate stuff. And we also need to be very conscientious of making sure that it is accessible to people who are not that comfortable in After Effects and people that want to use the template without having to navigate my crazy stream, my crazy files. So when we're hopping into it, we're also gonna have to check that out. But let's see here. Go in here. We'll see if it does work. I'm sparing you guys from looking into my folders, so that's why nothing's happening on screen right now.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
You're gonna judge me for my over organization and my lack of organization. You know how it goes.
Are you one of those people who let things pile up on your desktop, or do you keep
I used to be worse. I used to be a lot worse, especially because I need to have linked files. But when I worked at my old agency and I had to pull things off of a server and save them somewhere and then re-upload it. Oh man, I used to throw things all over my desktop. Before we hop into it, I guess now would be a great time also to go over this workspace, which is even more chaotic than my Illustrator. The way that I bring in my projects is I'll keep my projects in my effect controls over here on the left, which is where they are by default. That's just kind of because where I've learned it. Tools stay up the top, my composition's here, and my render cues on the bottom. But as of late, I've been really trying to expedite the panels that go in and out of working in After Effects for me. You'll see Overlord is also here, which is the program that works well with Illustrator. We have that the motion right here is a really great Swiss Army knife of sorts of like adding ease and taking ease off of different keyframes when you're doing interpolation. It also helps you move the anchor points around when you have an object without having to change the positioning of it. And then you also have these sliders that help you with easing in. You have a bunch of different tools. If you explore down here, they all do a bunch of different like pre-automated things. And then you have the align, which is, you know, reflective of my Illustrator. Ease copy is a great plugin that you can copy and paste ease without actually grabbing the value. You can also grab the value of it if you want to, but I mostly use it for just making sure that everything is cohesive. We have simple text, which is really good for animating individual letters, words, or lines coming in and out. GIF gun helps me make GIFs. They just export straight from After Effects. You can adjust the settings, which is really nice. Paragraph and character are here for when I'm working with type. I like to have this as a panel for this. Auto crop changes the sizing of the composition. Keystone are just ones that help me move around with keyframes. Key fast is very similar to Keystone. That's why they're side by side. They do things like you can stagger the panels or the layers. You can have things slide up and slide off screen. Then we have our effects and our libraries off to the side. So
wow,
it is
wow.
took some time to get it all figured out, but we nevertheless have gotten a system down over the years, just because it can get really messy really quickly, and it's really helpful to just have some kind of consistency.
Yeah, I was taking notes on all of the plugins that you're using.
Yes,
seems like it helps a lot.
I have by all means been fortunate enough to work with AE Scripts and plugins who create a bunch of plugins marketplace and I work with them several times a year to go through a bunch of their plugins for their sale that they have. And through live streaming for their sales, I have been able to learn a lot of the plugins and meet the developers and then be like, oh, cool, I could totally use this. And so it's been like a good way to, know the product as I've gotten into it.
That's really awesome.
Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to pull up our work that we just worked on in Illustrator. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to drag it on over. I ended up making the canvas larger because the way that After Effects works is it will by default kind of crop what you have into the artboard that you have, which is normally helpful. But in our case, we want to have all of the composition. So I'll have composition and layer size and add it. It'll create a new scary looking story for us with all of our stuff. But now we also have all of our content. If I want to just grab it directly from the composition itself, that'll keep it in its own sizing, which is nice. But I'll normally just copy and paste it and bring it in somewhere else, and then we'll go from there. So, yeah.
Cool.
Let's start off. We are beginning, and I know we only have like 10 minutes left or so, but maybe we can get a little bit done here. And I can just show you guys what I'm doing.
Yeah, you got about 14 minutes. So.
All right. Whew, okay. We're going to finish the whole thing right now. No. No, also, before we even get started, we should probably save. That way, we always have a backup because it'll automatically save once we start saving with my intervals, which is nice. Now, have you ever hopped much into After Effects at all?
I have a tiny bit. Yeah, I've tried to do a few different things, learned a little bit. I really wanted to get into it last year and then kind of fell apart, as we were saying earlier. It's one of those things
where like I tried to take courses on it and it never worked for me. But as soon as I started piecemealing the things that I was just interested in, they kind of then became a structure for me to learn it.
Yeah.
But whenever I tried to learn it through like a course itself, I always lost interest. I was like, okay, that's too much.
Me too. That's exactly how I've been trying to learn it through courses, and it's like it gets so boring because there's so many little things. Yeah. Like, oh, this is too time consuming. And so James is really good with After Effects. So I will often try to start something and then be like, can you help me clean this up?
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
It's nice to have that resource, but it's funny how irritated I would get with the silliest like criticisms of the instructors. Be like, I don't like how he swallows his spit after every few words, so I can't watch this anymore. And it's like, okay, grow up, Ryan. Like, oh, this is really helpful that I learned is so I just made 3 different rotation keyframes. We have the one that's the main one. I also moved the anchor point so that it moves from here. But I went ahead and I moved from here into here, and I was like, oh, when I played it, I was like, okay, it's a little bit slower. I'm not into it. We haven't added any of the motion curves or gone into the graphs yet, which is a whole other thing. But even then I could tell it's too slow. So I highlight all of them and I hold down Alt, and then you can move the keyframes like this and they will stay equidistant in their scaling. So it can be even more than 3. I can go like this, and like, it's not gonna be the best animation, but then I can highlight all of these and hold Alt, and it will continue to kind of keep the same distance as you scale it up and down. Super helpful. Especially as you're working with more and more keyframes as your project gets crazier and crazier.
Cool.
So yeah, we're gonna make this wave a little bit. Mike is gonna hop in here and he is going to tell me to use a bunch of expressions, which I'll try to make him happy. Hey, Elizabeth Mack is here. He said he made me in, but just want to say hi. Well, thank you for being here. I messaged everyone. I was like, make me look good, please.
Come to the chat.
Please, just. So we're gonna loop out. I'm gonna say ping pong, which means that you want to loop the keyframes in the end, or just in between all of them. And if you go into comma 1, I think that'll do it. So it's just the last 2. Yay.
Oh, so cute.
And so what I like to do is, you don't necessarily have to do it because we have the motion, but I really do enjoy, especially like an older animation, like motion lines that give extra context. I think they're cute. I also recently read this news article about the upcoming movie The Bad Guys, which I believe might be DreamWorks. I'm not entirely sure. And the context of the article was that animation for so long has been, ever since Toy Story, has been trying to get to this realism. And it's finally now where it's so easy to get to realism. Like you look at, I don't know, like the water in like Finding Dory or whatever. And it's just it's so accessibly easy that now with things like Spider-Verse and Turning Red and this new movie, The Bad Guys, they're finally like, okay, cool, let's get creative and start bringing back some of those 2D elements to make it feel not real, because it doesn't have to be real. It's an animation, you know, it's a cartoon, and you know me, I like cartoons. So
yeah, absolutely. And I think that that's like kind of what makes it really interesting and fun to watch, is when it is that 2D animation, because that's why we have actors and real life movies, to have things be real life. And of course it's impressive when you have things that are animated that look like real life, but the more we get towards it looking perfect, the less you appreciate that it's art and animation and created from scratch, you know?
Yeah. Oh, thank you, Rob, also for calling out Tom DeLongchamp. Yes, he's the one that I was talking about. And he uses Adobe Animate to a level that I've never seen before for his live stream. So you guys should probably check it out. But yeah, no, if you want it to be real, just have it be, just film it at that point.
Yeah.
Content shape path. Content shape stroke. Stroke one. If you go down to here, there is a line join and a line cap, and I kid you not, it's literally called butt cap. I don't want the butt cap. I want it to be the round cap. And all that does is that'll switch it from looking like this to looking like this. And I normally will make that update whenever I'm kind of like creating these, just so that it feels a little bit more soft, because I like to have bubbly, floaty things.
It's so cute.
Thank you. And I'm also going to duplicate it by doing Control D, and I'm just going to stagger it just behind a little bit. We might end up making it tinier and not use the same, but it's nice to have it as a reference point. So I'll go here, and rather than it be 134, we'll say 110. And rather than that position, I'm going to move it down a little bit. We'll see how this looks. I don't know if that looks too much like Spotify or not, but let's see. Another good tip for if you like have something and you want to move it, but they have position keyframes. The position keyframes will make it so that it moves the position, but you can go and you can highlight and you can create a null and then create a pick whip to those nulls. And so there's actually a shortcut for it in Motion where I can click it right here. And now it is all tied to this. And if I just move the null and the rotation and the position of it, then we don't have to worry about it affecting the actual keyframes.
So interesting. Like, wow, what is he doing?
I'm sorry. I know. I feel like I get that way in After Effects. I tend to then like kind of just throw things at the wall. But hopefully
it's cool to see the whole process.
It also makes me feel better because then I sometimes feel like I work so slow in Illustrator that then by the time that we get to After Effects, I can be like, cool, like thank you for dealing with me. I can now actually show you that I'm worth your time. All my chatterbox, it pays off hopefully. So we'll see.
Yes.
I'm gonna stagger these so that it's like yeah, maybe we'll bring it back. We can even do something where these loop after a few seconds. But also I don't know how long we want to keep it up, because if this is going to be a story, people only have a limited attention span. You know how it goes.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and also change the speech bubble. Rather than right now, it is just a link to the Illustrator file, but you can right click any vector file and you can go to create shapes from vector layer, and it will then recreate that layer in After Effects. It looks like I have something else in my contents under my group, so we're going to check that out real quick. Maybe it's just the grouping of it. Yeah, we're going to delete that group. And I'm going to do that. That way we can have it kind of like plop up. So I'll go in and I'll create a keyframe for the path just so that we have a place for it to end. And then I'll normally go in and I will adjust these guys. I learned through Evan Abrams way too late that then you can then double click and then begin to play with these. But then I also, within the last year, started getting this cool new extension called PenPal that you can go into Window, Extensions, PenPal, and it will load your path into this little module. And then within this module, you can adjust the paths, the points, the tangents, and you can use a lot of the align features that you would see otherwise in like Illustrator or other programs that have little ways that you can flip things around, and it'll update it in the composition panel as well. So, hi Maya, how's it going? All right, so we're also going to go to position, scale. Are you working on anything for the rest of the day, or is this am I the nightcap to your work day?
Yeah, you're kind of the nightcap.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool. Hopefully we can go out in style then.
I know. My dad's visiting, so we're gonna get some dinner afterwards and just have a chill evening, and then back to the work life tomorrow. Today was kind of a more relaxed day, but we had to go run errands. It's always whenever my dad visits, it means that we're working on a lot of yard and house things.
Oh, right. Okay. Now, is that by your choice, or is that does he come and he like criticizes your yard? And you're like, I'll fix it. I promise that. I'm sorry.
No, definitely not him criticizing. It's usually him being like, oh, let me help you, because he so enjoys it. So yeah,
okay,
by I would say our choice, both of us.
It's a benefit.
Yes.
If he wants to come by here, tell him that he's welcome to Brooklyn anytime he wants to come.
No, be like, I have some friends who need your help. He's really good with like all house things, all outdoor things. It's been like so helpful to have him.
I'm sure he would love to hear that.
Yeah, we bought our house a year ago, actually, coming up, and so we've just been putting a lot of time into it.
Congratulations. That's so exciting. I mean, well, obviously, like I said, your office looks fantastic. So obviously you've moved in. One of my sisters just bought a house like last month, and she's been updating it and getting it ready. But my other sister went over and organized her kitchen, and same sort of thing. I was like, you can come up to New York anytime you want. The door is open.
Yeah, be like, come help me.
By the way, I know we only have like a minute left. We'll talk about this more tomorrow, but this is the simple text that I was talking about, and it represents text animation with this little box. And I can update this position, the scale, the X rotation, Y rotation, Z rotation, and opacity of it. And then it will take whatever I do and put it in this animator ID 1. You go back over here to this text layer in the effects panel. It has the animator 1 in it. And then you'll see that since I just did a simple animation of it popping up, now since I went here and I clicked letters, it's going to animate each letter individually. So it pops up like that. And like I said, we'll touch that a lot more tomorrow, but just something to check out.
Wow, that's so awesome. Thank you so much, Ryan. This was really informative. And thank you everyone for joining us in the chat today. Just a reminder, we will be back tomorrow at 12 p.m. Pacific time for part 2 with Ryan. It's going to be super fun. Going to do some more animating and finish up this design that we created today. Stay tuned for the Premiere Creative Challenge coming up after this with Fabiola Laura. And Adobe Live will be back tomorrow with Adobe evangelist Katrina, where you will learn how to create Instagram reel covers in Adobe Express. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. We had a great time chatting with you all. And thank you, Ryan. It was a pleasure. See you tomorrow.
I had so much fun. Thank you so much.
Of course. Take care, everyone. Have a great evening. Bye.